Okay, and we're back. And we had an exciting moment. For one, I think I probably should have said this before. We need to clean off some attributes here because this guy, Voronoi fracture, aside from being very difficult to pronounce, also is a little sensitive if you already have a name attribute. So I just threw a little clean on here in between our solid mortar and our Voronoi fracture and just cleaned off everything, basically all attributes and all groups. Why? Because we don't really care. And then it worked like a charm. Now, the point I wanted to make was looking at this really closely, you can kind of see the cracks in there. The thing I threw down, actually, I'll do it again live just to show you. So we've got these guys, right? We hit our load from disk, render, blah, blah, blah. We have it, took about 6.5 minutes, right? Wasn't fast. We want to see them separate. So if you put down just a basic exploded view and then hit it, it will separate everybody and does this nifty little thing. Let's actually get rid of this. Does this nifty little guy. And that's going to be really handy. As a matter of fact, so handy that we're going to make a thing for it up at the top as a thing. But the thing I wanted to point out was cleaning off all these attributes. If we didn't clean them off, we would have already had textures on the tops and bottoms, but it wouldn't have put textures on these new pieces, on these what do we call these internal detail pieces. And again, this is where if you'd turned on add internal detail, it would muck those guys up a little bit, which for final we probably would. For initial tests, we probably wouldn't bother so much. But since it didn't put textures on this anyways, we would have had to retexturize. So it's okay to get rid of the textures that were on there, which were lost when we cleaned off the attributes. So how do we put textures back on stuff? Well, as you know by now, we have a handy dandy little texturizer and little guy that puts textures on stuff that we just used seconds ago, which I made a big deal about making in the beginning, if you remember. And here's why. It's yet another time where we need to retexturize. So just put the exact same texturizer on there. It's already got those connections and stuff. And then our guy that puts puts that material on it. So this will actually be what I'm going to call mortar bits. Bonk. So we take a look at that and hit the big button. Wum, wum, wum. Cool. Check it out. Let's actually put it on smooth, shall we? And then we actually get mortar bits. Oh, we can actually turn the explosion off so you can see. So as you can see, it gives them the texture back. But on top of that, it adds texture even to these new little interior surfaces the same way. That's why it was so cool to have this texturizer here. Okay, so these are the bits that are going to be in between the stones that will go together and make up our thing. At this point, we've kind of done the magic. I'm going to take exploded view out because the only thing we're going to do after this is hook things up to make this a little more useful in the actual sim, and then we'll run it through a couple different images and stuff and have some fun. Maybe throw a superhero through a wall or something cool. By the way, always to make things a little easier to see what's going on, do that. So now that's probably our next thing we want to show. Our last thing we showed was the points to break up mortar. I'm going to call these the mortar bits. And let's go ahead and with them textured, throw them in, hit show or get on to show. Up here on our image breaker, this thing is so special. I feel like it needs a color. Let's do that. No, we did that for ball. Let's give it I don't know, something cool. Something to say that he's about purple. Something to say that he's a digital asset and interesting stuff's happening aside from the color of the text. So now we're going to add a new guy up here. Let's just right click and go down again. It's off screen a little bit. Take properties, go to parameters. Our parameters here, our big guy, our menu guy. Now we finally get to do the big thing, which is mortar bits. Mortar bits. And we're also going to want to see stone and mortar bits together, right? The reason we don't do that is because then that's it. We're done with all this Yippee app and talking things up. But we're not quite done with the stuff we're going to do for this. If you're really bored, you can jump ahead, but there's some things we're going to do that are going to make this a little more useful. Okay, we just added mortar bits, which is this guy. And as you can see, it works. But we're also going to add in, we want to see, if in case you want to see the stone and the mortar bits, let's do a merge. We wanted to see the stone, which is this guy here, and the mortar bits. Again, of course, stone and mortar bits. Important to give names to everything. Bonk. Abra could slow ra because it actually has to go through and do the, since I had to stop and restart, there go through and do the stuff. So if you look at this, yeah, let's look at it through, I don't know, smooth wire shaded. You can see that it does the bits and the other stuff. So so basically we could kind of save and go, great, we're done. Woohoo, we're done, yay. But what am I going to jibber jabber on a little bit more? The only thing I want to jibber jabber on and why I want to jibber jabber on is, you remember this thing, the showing the colors and the stretching and so forth. Showing the colors was just for the texturing. I could just show the front and left, top and bottom and side and stuff. But to make this thing useful, when we're initially making it something, we're going to want to have a button to say show it exploded and maybe show it with random colors on each piece, that kind of stuff. This ball is beginning to bug me. Oh, you know what else is beginning to bug me? The showing where the origin is. I know where the origin is. Okay. So I'm going to now add a little bit. By the way, notice the back side's also got, and the top, bottom parts I've been showing also have the textures. Just want to point that out. I'm going to add a couple. You guys can jump ahead if you want, but this is worth it for me. I'm going to go ahead and add a set of things to show an exploded view and to show colors. I keep waving my hand. A different color for each little bit, whatever you would call that. And the reason I want to do that is so it becomes very clear what's connected and what isn't. In other words, when you look at this, it's very clear that, okay, everybody's, disconnected, which means we made our initial image well. But it might not necessarily be so clear in other images, or it might not be so clear when it comes to little bits. We basically want to have a little checkbox here that says exploded. And, I'm just going to make it. We want a checkbox here that says probably below this guy, right? Let's just grab a toggle. I want to say, show exploded. And I want another toggle to say, show colors or show funky colors or whatever. I'm going to say color rise. Colorized. And those are going to be what we call Peter Max colors, meaning a bunch of just random bright colors. We're just to give each chunk a different color. And the reason that's useful, especially when it's non-exploded, is to show what's connected and what isn't. So it's going to be useful to do that. So the main thrust of this is kind of over, but come back for the next lesson. I'll show you. We're going to hook up a couple things to make this a handy dandy useful guy that we're going to throw in through other things. Mainly we're going to make those guys working. And when we actually do it, we're also going to do, when we color it, we might color it colorized, textured, and like blank, which I think also might be useful. Yeah, sure, heck with it. Okay, so come back for the next lesson and we'll throw all that together. See you soon.